Niger military junta cuts off electricity, water supply to French embassy. Amnesty International calls for investigation into cases of missing persons and enforced disappearances arising from insurgency. Benue IDP camp records case of chickenpox. Away from Nigeria, U.S. President Joe Biden says no place for white supremacy after Florida racist attack. These are the headlines on Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ile. Thanks for joining. And now the details. Niger military leadership has cut off electricity and water supplies to the French embassy in the capital Niamey with no food deliveries allowed, multiple sources report. The military junta has also taken similar action at the French consulate in other parts of the country. The president of the National Support Committee for the CNSP, El Issa Hassoumi, warned all partners of the French bases in Niger against supplies of fuel, water, electricity, and food products. The president says any partner who continue to help the French in the process of supplying the goods and services will be considered enemy of the sovereign people. The reports come after a 2-day deadline given by the military administration to the French embassy ambassador Sylvain Ite, 48 hours to leave Nigerian territory, expired Sunday. However, authorities in Paris on Friday rejected the order against its ambassador, repeating that France did not recognize the military ruler's authority. Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs says, contrary to speculation, Nigeria's ambassador to Niger Republic, Mohamed Sani Usman, was not expelled from Niger Republic. Reacting to the speculation, the spokesperson, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Francisca Omayuli, said that the purported expulsion of the Nigerian ambassador within 48 hours was false, warning against the spread of unverified information capable of jeopardizing the ongoing mediation efforts by ECOWAS in the political impasse in Niger. The statement urged the public to disregard the information. Now, the federal government has been charged to investigate all cases of missing persons, including the enforced disappearances arising from insurgency. The call was part of the commemoration of the yearly solidarity and campaign for victims of enforced disappearance across the country in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Adamu Ngulde has more.
Speaking at the event, Country Director Amnesty International Malam Issa Sanusi said there was need to intensify the campaign against the government's deafening silence on the fate of victims of enforced disappearances in the region. Need to intensify the campaign against the government's deafening silence on the fate of victims of enforced disappearances in the region. He said the number of missing and enforced disappearances was much higher, urging the authorities to implement the Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance effectively.
We are calling on the Nigerian government to investigate all enforced disappearances of the thousands of people since the beginning of the insurgency in the northeast Nigeria, and trace the whereabouts of women, children, and older people whose whereabouts have not been known for as much as 14 years, some 8 years.
Beside the law, he urged the federal government to ensure thorough investigation of enforced disappearances and ensure that suspects are prosecuted in accordance with international standards. The director Al-Amin Foundation, Hamsatu Al-Amin, said the foundation has recorded over 23 missing persons during the 14-year crisis in the northeast.
As I am speaking now, we have registered over 23,000 people missing. But the heartwarming thing is that recently, in the last 2 years, the leadership of particularly the Nigerian military has started releasing some of these victims to us.
Some of the victims urged the government at all levels to investigate all cases of missing persons, including the enforced disappearances arising from the insurgency since 2009 to date.
I will speak on behalf of the people of our town of Andara. in Kumshe Bama town. About 9 years ago, my brother and my husband's brother went out, but up till now, no one knows what happened to them. Therefore, we are urging the government at all levels to intervene so that to know the future of our brothers and sisters.
They arrested them in Burma in our home. They took them to Burma Barracks. From there, they transferred them to the Maimalari Barracks. From then, we have no idea of them.
Stakeholders urge Nigerian authorities to also provide effective protection for persons who file complaints of their missing persons and enforce disappearances as well as families of the disappeared person. From Maiduguri, Adamu Ngulde, Trust TV News.
The National Commission for Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons Proliferation said it has concluded arrangements to employ and train about 300,000 personnel across the Federation to tackle illegal arms proliferation. Acting Director General of the Commission, Adejare Adegbero, who disclosed this in a statement on Sunday, said a total of about 7,000 personnel will be engaged in each state of the Federation and the FCT. He said that they are going to employ about 300,000 personnel across the country to make the country a safer place, noting that this will also reduce unemployment rate in the country. He said anyone interested should be on the lookout for the guidelines on national dailies. Members of the Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees in Plateau State have commenced an indefinite strike on Monday over fear of possible clash between supporters of the reinstated council chairman and caretaker chairman in the state. Johanna McQueen Arondon, who is the chairman of the union in the state, said that this during a press conference in Jos, the Plateau State capital. Daily Trust reports that the decision to embark on the strike came a day after Plateau State Police Commissioner reinstated the 17 suspended chairmen in the state. The reinstated council chairmen, who were elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, were suspended by Governor Caleb Mutfwang for alleged misappropriation of funds, an allegation that the embattled chairman denied. Governor Mutfwang had, following the suspension of the elected chairman, appointed new caretaker chairman to take charge of the secretariats, a development that led the embattled chairman to drag the governor to court. However, the local government workers, while briefing journalists on their action, said that the decision became necessary in view of the possible clash between supporters of the APC and the PDP at the various secretariats. One person lost his life as 4 others abducted on their way from Aworo village in Kwara State regained freedom on Sunday after alleged payment of 7 million naira ransom to their abductors. Last Monday, one Grace Adepoju, said to be the Iyalode of Oyan in Osun State, her surveyor and 4 others went to Agbamu for a commercial transaction, and while returning around 6:30 p.m., they were attacked and kidnapped at Aworo, a community at the Osun and Kwara States border. While Adepoju escaped from the abductors in the early hours of Tuesday, others remained in the kidnappers' den, while local hunters, operatives of the Amotekun Corps, and policemen made efforts to free them. During the search, 2 persons suspected to be informants to the kidnappers, who were found making calls inside the bush, were arrested and taken into custody by the police team from Kwara State. The spokesperson for Osun State Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Kehinde Adeleke, declined comment on the payment of ransom but confirmed the release of 4 abductees and the death of 1. Now, in spite of campaigns by individuals and organizations, the menace of open defecation is still common in Benue State. Jimmy Azande speaks to residents on solutions to end the menace. The report.
Many of those involved in this act are ignorant of the environmental hazards caused by open defecation.
Lack of public toilets, and then secondly, the how would I place it now? Illiteracy. Also, why I said illiteracy is because even the literate, at times, they fail to provide those amenities. But then I see illiteracy as the cause, in the sense that at times when people build, they decide not to include toilets in their building plans, which at the end results to using public areas.
On the side of ladies, open defecation or using unclean toilets can give infections to ladies. For they are open. They are open. If they sit and they defecate and or urinate, it can cause disease.
The Makurdi residents feel the government is also not doing enough to curtail open defecation.
And on open defecation, I see it's very bad. You know, it's very bad when you move around and see people defecating openly. And yes, for sure, laws should be made about this often people defecating openly. And for the past time, we have been seeing something like the government implemented something like Washcom. The Washcom was somehow doing something good, but I think it's good for when a law is implemented, there should be a close monitoring to make sure these activities are being carried on.
Of course, open defecation as a source of environmental pollution should be blamed on the government, but not on the government alone. The individuals too has a role to play in this thing. Open defecation is a source of environmental pollution. Now, the government as an institution, a government should be able to provide public toilets in towns. But in case of places like villages, where you have houses, people have houses in villages, there are no toilets there. They go outside defecating.
They urge the government to step up efforts to make communities open defecation free for a human healthy ecosystem. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
President Bola Tinubu has declared that Nigeria will not sustain failed economic theory that sees to the wastage of 90% of its scarce revenue in the servicing of external debts amid many development challenges facing the country. The president made the statement on Sunday in Abuja while declaring open the annual conference of the Nigerian Bar Association at the Velodrome Chief MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja, while energizing the gathering of 16,190 lawyers in attendance with his speech. President Tinubu stated that the prosperity Nigerians require will only occur once poverty is banished from the society, with the focused cooperation of Nigeria's private sector leader. Now, speaking on the theme of the conference, Getting It Right, Charting the Course for Nigeria's Nation Building, the president stated that hard decisions must be taken to set the country on a growth trajectory. That's why the initial pains, which meaningful reforms usually bring. The president also bemoaned the inability of the country to eradicate poverty and tackle poor electricity supply, despite Nigeria's abundance of gas.
The roadmap enunciated here and expecting what will come out of the great topic of tonight and the following week. The challenge is all for us to pull together a united Nigeria, committed to national greatness, unless we do it by ourselves.
We have decided to go on with this conversation around the thematic areas of security, economy, and administration of justice, because these are matters that are of grave concern to the people of this country. It is our intention that at the end of this meeting, we would have set an agenda on behalf of the people of this country.
That is a journey that demands our collective dedication, building across political affiliations ethnic differences and socioeconomic differences. Building and transforming our nation is one that is not the responsibility of our government alone. Great nations start with great people, not great leaders.
My humble charge to all legal practitioners in Nigeria, be it of the bench or at the bar, is that in the discharge of our professional endeavors, we should be continually guided by the need to place the interests of the nation first.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we take a look at possible return of groundnut pyramid. Details and more after the break.
How do they come to Nigeria? They have to come through Niger Republic.
Welcome to News Hour on Trust TV.
The coalition of northern groups, CNG,
Petition followed consultations and meetings.
Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am
Where do they get what? How do they survive?
Kidnapping is just an extension of catch rustling.
Welcome back. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Here's a look at the top stories. Niger military junta cuts off electricity, water supply to French embassy. Amnesty International calls for investigation into cases of missing persons and enforced disappearances arising from insurgency. In other news, a case of chickenpox has been reportedly detected at the Agagbe internally displaced persons camp in Gwere West local government area of Benue State. Daily Trust had reported 10 children infected with measles at the same camp last week. Iba Jacob, who is the chairman of the Agagbe IDP camp in Gwere local government area, said that the case of chickenpox was found by some medical doctors from a nearby private hospital. He said that the doctors were the ones who broke the news to some government officials who visited the camp at the weekend. The government officials, who according to the camp manager were from the State Emergency Management Agency, had visited to ascertain whether the cases of measles, other illnesses and hunger reported in the media were true. Now, groundnut is among the cereal products produced by many farmers, especially in northern Nigeria. In this report, correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi looks at the importance of the cereal crop to the public.
Harvest of groundnut involves a series of activities such as propagation through seeds. The seeds are shielded just 2 weeks before planting. Groundnut seeds are either grown in the nursery, then transplanted to the main area, or they are directly sown in the main field. Most of the groundnut seeds takes 3 months or little above to mature for consumption. As an essential product, groundnut can be consumed fresh, dried, roasted, depending on the user of the farm item. A farmer who shared his experience on the groundnut plantation said if proper attention is given to producers of such product, it will add value to their activities.
Virtually everybody eats groundnut in one way or the other, either through the oil or through the grinded one or through every other means. And as a farmer, I realized that the major challenge we have with groundnut is the storage. It's a very sensitive crop. If it is not well stored, it can lead to damages. So we have that major challenge with storing groundnut. And that has a way of also trying to affect the preservation. If it's not preserved, after a short while, you won't have groundnut again.
The farmer further said if not for the challenges of farm shortages due to crises in some communities and hunger, which often force farmers not to store their products, the groundnut pyramid of 60s can return to the country. Musa Abdullahi, a groundnut trader at Lafia Cereal Crop Market, said they got supplies by either going to farms or farmers transported the product to them for exchange. He said rather than store the grain, they prefer selling it to their customers outside the state because groundnut can effectively be stored only when it is dried.
We load and take the groundnut to Kano to sell at the available market price. We have not started storing because the groundnut has not dried yet. We can only store dried one.
Groundnut, as you do know, is essential part of our meal. We use it for a lot of things, for kunu. We call it kunu ngeda in this part of the country. We use it for soup. We use it as meal. You eat it raw, you cooked it, before meal. So it is very important and essential part of our meal in this part of the country.
He said despite the perishable nature of groundnut, families use available facility to store it for future consumption. He called on government to support groundnut farmers by providing storage facilities for them.
Now, away from Nigeria, hundreds of people have gathered at a prayer vigil to mourn the killing of 3 black people in Florida at the hands of a white man, as President Joe Biden said that there was no place for white supremacy in the United States. About 200 people attended a vigil on Sunday evening near the Dollar General Store in Jacksonville, where officials said that 21-year-old Ryan Palmetta opened fire the day before using guns he had bought legally. The Southern States Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who has weakened Florida's gun control laws and attacked so-called wokeness, was booed loudly as he addressed the vigil. Sheriff T.K. Waters identified the victims as Angela Michelle Carr, 52 years old, A.J. Laguerre, 19, and Gerald Gallion, 29. And in sports news, Victor Osimhen scored his 100th club goal as Napoli continued a perfect start to their Serie A title defense with Sunday's 2-0 win over 10-man Sassuolo. Now, Osimhen netted his 3rd goal of the season from the penalty spot 15 minutes into Napoli's first home match since lifting the league title in front of their fans for the 3rd time back in June. And captain Giovanni Di Lorenzo made sure that Napoli will make it 6 points from 6 in the 64th minute. And that wraps it up for the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.